Hi, it's Colin Coward. I started The Volume to bring you some of the most authentic voices in sports. While you're here, make sure you hit subscribe. Thanks.
That stadium that Stan Kroenke built, when listen, the likelihood, unless I strike oil or create like the next Amazon, that I'm ever going to be able to buy something, or any of us, for pay $5 billion to create something, is slim to none, right? What Stan Kroenke built with that money, because it sounds crazy. Now, I know the way, I understand money out here is just kind of inflated to begin with because of California, the cost, the hoops you got to go through. But that stadium is so badass. I think Jerry's World is awesome. And I was texting with a buddy. He thought, is that place better than Jerry's World? And my first reaction was yes. Now, Jerry's World is, 15 years old now, or a little less than that. This thing lived up to the hype. That place is badass. Now, it turned into a Niner home game, but that place was rocking. And I say this all the time. Don't let the internet fool you. Everyone's so angry on the internet. Everyone, Rams, Niners, people 80,000 people together, everyone having a blast. People are friendly. Don't, and I'm talking to myself right now because I get so angry at the internet. It's just so doom and gloom and such miserable people. People are so happy out and about. Get a beer, get a cocktail in you. I was, hugging Rams fans. I happened to sit next to Danny Trejo, who, the actor. And actually, I was sitting next to a Niner fan, and when overtime, or right before overtime, when Kyle punted with a minute 50 or whatever, the guy looks at me. He just showed up to the game by himself, because I went with 3 people, so we bought 3 tickets. I think this guy bought the 4th in the group. And he looked at me. He's like, this thing is over. And I could tell on his phone he had his airplane ticket and leaves. And then Danny and his boys moved over, and I got to sit next to him and watch overtime with him. But that game is just, the NFL is such a special league. When the NFL is right and when the games are awesome, there's nothing better. I've been to the World Series. I've been to the Golf U.S. Open. I've been to the NBA. I've been to Game 7 of the NBA Finals when LeBron won in Cleveland. There is something really, really special, as George Kittle said, a body bag game. In any game where you're just watching a bunch of guys making $10 to $30 million, I guess Stafford even makes more, just throw haymakers at each other. It is such a cool event. I mean, if you love football, when you get the opportunity, because you never know. Like, you go to the game, it could be great. When it was 17-0, I thought we were going to leave early because it was going to be a 38-3 game. And it was pretty special. It really was. That, if you get the chance, SoFi, hat tip to you, Stan. You clearly know what you're doing when it comes to building things. But I came out here for golf, and then we went to the game. And I'll talk about where I played golf on Saturday. Pretty special place. Might be hosting a U.S. Open next year. I was with a bunch of Cal grads, and they take a lot of pride in Jared Goff, right? Because, athletics at Cal haven't been that great for a while, and he was a number 1 overall pick. And I think they're watching Matt Stafford, and they keep asking me, they go, why did they trade for him? And I try to describe it. I'm like, well, Stafford is better. He's got a bigger arm. He's a better athlete. But yet I'm at the game, and I'm watching him, and I'm going, I do get the other side. And he is one of the more polarizing guys in the league. But I don't know, man. You are not winning a Super Bowl with that guy. It's not happening. It's not going to happen. Their run game is not good enough. At the end of the day, the 49ers have just, war daddies. Absolute war daddies. And I think the Rams do too. I think Jalen Ramsey, baller. Aaron Donald, Von Miller. I mean, these guys are legends. But overall, their team, you add Odell Beckham. Odell Beckham's Cooper Kupp's a stud too. Cooper Kupp, badass. But that game turned into, when the Niners came storming back, a heavyweight fight. And they were both just throwing blows at each other's face. And do you remember the famous Ultimate Fighter? It was a reality show. And the first ever season of the reality show, I'm not a big UFC guy, but it was such a legendary, they fought to, one of them would get a contract. And it was such a legendary fight that I think Dana White gave them both contracts. And that game was just throwing blows. And the Niners are just tougher. And the Rams, Sean McVay learned from Gruden and Shanahan's. His style should be toughness. But Kyle's just the tougher coach, and the way he calls his plays consistently, like they get so spread happy. They don't have the offensive line. And it's not like the Niners are rolling out Buckner anymore or D Ford. And they just took it to him. They just out-physicaled him. And, listen, I've never been in a boxing match, like in an arena, right, inside the ring. But they say those kidney shots, when you're watching real guys fight, are just, they hurt, right? Anyone who's, fucked around with a brother or a friend has taken a kidney shot, they really hurt. But, the Niners just kept giving it to them, and eventually they kind of tapped out. And they had no business losing that game. None. That's the first time Sean McVay has lost a game being up at halftime in his career. Like, that's crazy. That game was bananas. It was awesome. That's all I have to say. That game was awesome. And let's face it, the 49ers deserve to be in the playoffs. They're better than the Eagles. We watched them play. They beat them. They're better than the Saints. Now, it's awesome what Sean Payton did with his quarterback situation. Hat tip to him. 9-8 with no quarterbacks. That's big time. And I tweeted this last night in the first half, and then the second half they got their ass kicked. But I think Nick Sirianni's pretty good. And that game, like, we've seen those two teams play. The Bucs played the Eagles earlier this year, I think on Thursday night. And let's face it, the Bucs handled them pretty good. Maybe the Eagles came back a little bit at the end, but it was like a fake comeback. That game's pretty interesting. Though, the Bucs have a lot of weird stuff going on. Antonio Brown's taking shots at guys. Are they going to be healthy enough? I didn't watch any of that game today, but I just kept looking at the score. It's not like they blew out the gutless Carolina Panthers. And today, like, one team that I have just been consistently hard on. They started, 10-1. They should have cruised to the division championship. And then the Niners miraculously pull this game off, and Arizona gets worked by Seattle. You wonder, like, I don't do any, people, I've had guys in the NFL get mad at me before because they're like, you're just a media guy. I'm like, I'm not a fucking media guy. You're just trying to, like, do for clicks. No, I just say what I think. And I just don't think Cliff's got it, And listen, I can't, I have to, maybe I'll go back and watch the game later this week. Like, I think Kyler has some, like, there's no question who the better quarterback in that game is. Hat tip to the Seattle Seahawks for keep fighting. But you got the opportunity to win the division, even when you had kind of fallen out of it the last couple weeks and it looked like the Rams were going to cruise the division, and you blow it? How does that happen? At home? In Arizona? You lose that game? In what world? Like, who am I supposed to, like, I'm going to take the Rams in this game, but because it's in SoFi, not that it's a probably a 45-minute flight, but I mean, Arizona, like, I'm hard on the Rams from their toughness aspect relative to the Niners, relative to some of these other teams. But Arizona? In what world would you trust Arizona? And today is the perfect example. They are not a trustworthy team. And I think they're going to be one and done. And then, listen, I know some people associated with Cliff. I don't think he's a bad guy or whatever. But what do you do if you're Arizona? If they lose this game, like, you're giving Cliff Kingsbury's last year of his contract. They're going to give him a contract extension? Like, where are you going in college? Like, you're not getting a college job. You're not getting hired. I mean, not a Oklahoma. Hell, they already have a coach, but they were never going to hire Cliff Kingsbury. What are they going to do? I'll tell you what I'd do. I'd write it out and say, listen, you can coach the last year of your contract, but I can't give you a contract extension. Not when you were in cruise control, like Tesla. I remember, like, 2 years ago in the peak of COVID, when the roads were just empty. I mean, you could go on some of these roads in the Bay Area that are typically take you 2 hours. You do the drive in like 30 minutes. And I remember driving, just me and this other car, and I looked, and it's this dude in the Tesla, and he's asleep. And, the cruise control just cruising down the highway. And I went, God, I don't know if I'd have the balls to do that. But that's what Arizona was doing. They were in cruise control to win the division. And somehow, obviously they made the playoffs, so that's an accomplishment. But how did they have the 5 seed? How did that happen? Especially when the Rams lost to Seattle. I don't know, man. What a NFC West. We thought it was the best division, and look, the Rams are in, the Arizona's in, and the Niners are in. Got 3 teams in. Shows you. And Seattle, I mean, they're kind of coming on right now. Now, who knows if Russell claims Russell's such my issue with Russell. He's one of my favorite players ever, or the last couple decades, favorite player to watch. It's just always these PR campaigns. Like, he's not going to ask for a trade. It's like, I don't care. Russell, just stop being such a diva. Do you have to just either stay or go? The Rodgers thing last year, like, I can't take that crap anymore. I just find it, maybe I'm just jaded on it, but I find some of it to be just a little exhausting. You know, I mean, I just do. Like, are we going to go through this offseason with Russell Wilson doing this thing again? Where he's like, I don't want to get traded, but if you're going to trade me, I'll go to these 7 teams. Just either ask for a trade or don't. That's all I hope. Thanks for watching 3 and Out. You can check out the podcast below in the description, and make sure you subscribe right now to the Volumes YouTube channel.